going on, people? What's going on, YouTube? uh, this morning I want to talk about how to find a good mechanic. I've had some emails in regards to this subject, and I just had another guy that owns a few trucks call me up and ask me if I knew where to get a turbo at a decent rate. If you know anything about a turbo, if you know anything about trucks, you're not going to get a decent rate anywhere when it comes to turbos. Unless you buy a rebuilt one, and I don't recommend anybody to buy a rebuilt turbo for their trucks or a truck. But let me tell you guys the story of this guy getting his turbo blown out. So his driver was complaining about the truck running funny and smelling coolant. So he told his driver to take the truck to the mechanic. He took the truck to a mechanic, not his mechanic, just a mechanic. So the radiator did have a small hole, so they replaced the radiator. That's it. Just the radiator. That's it. And the next day, turbo goes out. And how do you take a radiator off and not notice that there's oil going through the hoses? There's two big hoses. Well, there's one hose that goes from the turbo towards the radiator. Now that hose has to be taken off in order to replace the radiator. Well, at least most of the mechanics do take that hose off. I don't know if this mechanic did it or not, but you take that hose, it's connected to the turbo, and it should have four clamps. You take them off, and you check if there's oil in the turbo. It doesn't take a scientist to take off them two clamps, and if you're a blind person, you can feel that there's oil in that little part that comes out of the turbo. It's about 4 fingers length that come out of the turbo where that pipe connects to it. So if there's oil in there, that means your turbo is done. So this is the thing. You want to find your mechanic that points things out to you. And if you have a mechanic, you might want to drop that bug on him. Hey, can you let me know what needs to be done to the truck? That way he can do a pre-inspection on your truck and let you know what needs to be done on your truck. If you're a person like myself that likes to get in them engines, I just ask the mechanic, how do I do it? What's the steps? What do I need to buy? Stuff like that. But that's the thing. Open your mouth. Don't just take it for granted that the mechanic is doing a good job and that's all that needs to be fixed. If you let a dude just replace whatever part needs to be replaced and something else is going out on it, you're going to end up paying a pretty penny at the end of the day. So that's how you find a good mechanic. Or that's how you find a mechanic is, Let them know. Check my truck. What needs to be done on it? What's about to go out on it? What usually goes out on these engines? That way you can stay on top of things. If you stay on top of things, believe me, your job will be way easier. Like, for instance, once you replace an EGR on an engine, especially on a Series 60 and a DD15, DD13, once you replace it, and you don't replace it with a brand new one, you replace it with a rebuilt one, every 2 years, you're going to have to replace that EGR valve. So keep that in mind. If you replace an EGR valve that's rebuilt, not a brand new one, every 2 years, you're going to be having problems with your EGR valve. It's not going to regen. You're going to get some weird codes, check engine light, the regen light, stuff like that. So keep that in mind. But back to the topic, that's the way you find a good mechanic. Even if he's not a good mechanic, well, I wouldn't say good mechanic. Even if he's not a mechanic that communicates with you, you need to communicate with him. Let him know. Tell me what's wrong with my truck. Check my truck out. What's going on it? What needs to be replaced? If you don't open up your mouth, you're going to end up paying a pretty penny at the end of the day, because you just relied on that one part that needed to be replaced. So that's the way you find a good mechanic, fellas. And another thing, me personally, I don't like too many mechanics touching my engine. I like to just stick with one mechanic or two mechanics. I have two mechanics, one that'll work specifically on the engine, and another one that'll fix snap-on parts, What I consider snap-on parts would be like shocks, tires, tie rods, tie rod ends, brakes, drums. That's snap-on parts. And then, of course, my engine mechanic is the one that's going to touch just the gut of the engine, injectors, injector cups, stuff like that. Transmission, clutches, stuff like that. So try to find you one mechanic that will know your truck, will know your engine, and talk to him. Make him remember you. So every time you drive up, hopefully it won't be too many times, but when you do drive up, he'll already know, oh, hey, that's Victor. He wants us to check out his truck after you put the part. So they'll do it automatically, and then they'll let you know, hey, this looks funny, this needs to be replaced, and what have you. And again, if you're like me, ask them how to put the part on and put it on yourself. It'll save you a whole lot of money if you learn how to do it yourself. All right, fellas. Well, I just thought I'd drop this video this morning because, like I said, this guy's truck went out, his turbo went out, and for obvious reasons, his driver didn't give a hoot. And he doesn't just have that one mechanic that'll check out his trucks, his fleet of trucks. So it's a good thing to keep in mind. Ask questions. Tell them to tell you how to replace that part, and just keep up on the truck. If you do them three things, your job will be way easier. And if you like playing with your truck, putting your hands in it, replacing it yourself, you'll save yourself a whole lot of money. All right, fellas, if you're out there driving, drive safe, be safe. We'll see you guys on our next video.